amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remember blessed. Whenever you look my video, whenever you watch my video, share the video to all platforms. Share it to family and friends. Share it in your WhatsApp group so that people can get information on what is happening in the contraption called Nigeria, mainly against the Biafrans, against the Duduas, against the indigenous people in the contraption called Nigeria. I try as much as possible to set the record straight. I don't preach hate speech. I don't speak against people. I set the record straight. The only important thing I do here is to make sure that the plight of the people remains on the front burner and the world will know the true story of what is going on in the contraption called Nigeria.
What we have for review this morning.
All right, let's begin with the authority. I mean, insecurity, and I'm sure Chips, I'll come to you for that. This is something that a lot of people, used to think, yes, it's happening somewhere, very far off in the northeast and several places that are not in the urban. But now it's come home to roost. It's not even just that. We're getting into an election year. What is the trepidation that this sets in? Because again, we are looking at the fact that if this continues, there could even be voters' apathy. Jokes.
Yes, 2 years ago, a certain security chief told me that before 2015 elections, that some politicians went to the Maghreb to recruit terrorists. That a certain Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan, was running for elections, and they feel that he wouldn't concede if he lost. So, and that Jonathan pulled the rug off their feet by actually conceding defeat even before the whole results came in. And that in euphoria of celebrations, that these same politicians forgot to go and, as it were, discharge this terrorist. And that these terrorists are responsible for the carnage in Nigeria. And at the time, it didn't make sense to me until a certain Governor Saban Otom, said something similar to that, if you recall, I mean, last year or so, where he pleaded with Nigerians to raise money. He actually begged us to raise money to settle these terrorists who are actually imported to Nigeria. And then what happened last Monday, when these terrorists launched the attack on the Kaduna Abuja rail track? All the survivors who spoke to journalists admitted that these guys looked like foreigners.
And spoken foreign language.
Yes, they spoke in foreign language. So and I tell people, I'm a sociologist, and if you look at Nigeria, there's a sociology of every race and every tribe. Nigerians are life-loving people. You see, no Nigerian will get 10 billion and still live in the bush. You should look at your neighbors, truck pushers. Whenever they get money, their statuses change. They buy new cars, they move into bigger houses, you understand? So that these guys still get all these monies and still live in the forest, and the level of sophistication of their arms is very worrisome. But then something more sinister happened after that attack. Two top government officials, one, the governor of Kaduna State, came out to admit that they know where these terrorists are. And then juxtapose that with what a former chief of army staff and former chief of defense staff and former minister of defense, Lieutenant General T.Y. Danjuma, said a few years ago, that our military, our security agencies are in collusion. They collude with these terrorists. At the time, some people dismissed T.Y. Danjuma as a rabble-rouser, but for those who know T.Y. Danjuma, he's very taciturn. So for you to have said that, then look at somebody like Rotimi Amechi, the Minister of Transport. He also came out, to rub it in our faces that yes, that they knew that this was going to happen, and he did a memo, but red tape prevented this. So it's like you have a petrol tank somewhere, and somebody no smoking, and somebody actually is you say don't smoke, and you see somebody actually going there with fire, and you said then after the explosion you say I warn them. Insane crimes. Rotimi Amechi will not only have resigned, but he will take it in for questioning. No, we can't arrest Governor Rufai because of course he enjoys immunity. But what Governor Rufai said, these things, I don't know how this will count against them in future, because you see, families, if our families, if I were related to any of these victims, I will drag them to the Hague, because it's genocide. It's you knew that this was going to happen, and you kept quiet. You colluded with these criminals, these terrorists, to kill innocent Nigerians, to cause. Do you know, as we speak, nobody knows the number of, because after the explosion, people went home. People dispersed, so nobody can ever tell how many persons died in that. Forget about this issue of 8 or 9 persons. A lot of people, far more people died in that terrorist attack. And you see, the government, as we speak, the government is still pussyfooting on this issue. It took the government a very long time to declare them terrorists, and as we speak, they still refer them to them
even
as
the
bandits.
security operators said they chased them right into the bush, and I'm asking,
And you saw what happened?
whose bush is that? Is that the Nigerian bush or
Ghanaian,
the Maghreb?
or Ghanaian
I don't know.
Nze, sometimes I wonder really, because from what Chuks is saying and what the people who were on the train who survived their account, that these people are foreigners. There's this is it adage now in Igbo land that they say is the rat in the house that told the one in the bush that there is maybe fish or meat in the kitchen. So sometimes I wonder, for you to get into a bush of another country, you must somehow be familiar with the terrain, with where you can hide, and it's difficult to get at you. So for a foreigner to come into the country, get into our bush, hide there, then come out, attack, go back. And then from what he said, even Governor Rufai says they know them, they even have their phone numbers. And you wonder, if you know them, you know where they are, why is it so difficult to go after those people? When they were not called terrorists, Rufai said, well, there's a way you will shoot. Then some people may drag you to the ICC saying you have committed, extrajudicial killing and all that. But now that they've been declared terrorists, has anything changed?
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. The declaration is just on paper. We're talking about the rat in the house went telling the outside one there is a meat or fish that is being roasted. Even our president has said it once before that the terrorists are not mainly Nigerians, that they came from Libya as a result of the civil war in Libya. And that corroborated with what Chuks has just said. He said, when people do things negatively to favor themselves. For example, during election, we know our politicians, they do so many things aiming at winning that election. When they now win the election, all those bad tracks you have told, you will now find it difficult to close them. That is exactly part of the reason this insecurity has continued unabated in this country. There have been several allegations and accusations that our politicians are the people involved in this. Politicians know about this. Nobody has come to deny it. Look at the statement that followed the Kaduna train attack. Governor of Kaduna State has continued to say it, that they know where these terrorists are. He has accused the Nigerian military of not taking this war to the real den of these terrorists. Nobody has reacted to that. Look at a minister of transportation in this country telling Nigerians that he had made a proposal for the purchase of security detective equipment that worth over 3 billion naira. Because that was not approved, he said, we saw this coming. Our politicians will be happy that the people they are leading or ruling are dying every day. and you come out to tell us that we saw this coming.
Is it possible he
You
raised,
saw it coming?
Is it possible he raised the alarm? He told security, officials or agencies, and nothing was done proactively? Is it possible?
You see, I have said it here that severally that fighting corruption is not only with equipment, gun, and so many other things need to be done. We have a country, a government where if people die, you issue a statement, you condemn it. The next day you summon service chiefs. You will discuss, they go back, the same thing continues. My late mother will say, it is Ferdinand, Ihedined. You will meet and talk, it will still be Ihedined. What is there will remain there. And there has been we have been shouting before, remove service chiefs, and the service chiefs have been removed and promoted. But we have now seen that the security challenges of this country have overwhelmed this government. No two ways about it. We will live with this, praying to God that we will survive until the needful is done. As it is now, we have seen it like a pilot said it, nowhere is safe.
Nowhere is safe,
Nowhere
really.
is safe.
Because you see this attack even on East-West Road, where a journalist even from Biafra State was kidnapped. So everybody is involved now. Nobody is safe.
Is there anywhere that is? We are talking of a state, a Kaduna state, that an international airport was attacked. Not up to 2 days after that, a heavier one, a bigger one. A train was attacked where prominent Nigerians were involved. You can imagine the young doctor that was killed. You can imagine the trade unionist that was killed. Very sad. And nobody's doing anything. So nowhere is safe.
Absolutely. Let me come in here. And then in the guise of that, you see Doguwa says, allow Nigerians to bear arms in self-defense, as a result of all of this insecurity. Blueprint actually says terrorists kidnap customs officer's son, 4 others in Zaria. And the rider says from Dogo, allow Nigerians to bear self-defense. Now, we have heard that from another state governor sometime in the past, and this has been reiterated now. What is also the danger in that? Because again, what that means is that if ordinary Nigerians are now carrying rifles, we already have an upbeat in banditry and armed robbery. How do you begin to, wage and bridge the gap between those who would misuse that as a means or a guise to attack innocent citizens? It's quite scary, Chooks.
You see, it's very simple. What is the fundamental role of government? The basic role of government is protection of life and property. You're talking about building 3rd Niger Bridge or 4th Niger Bridge or 10th Niger Bridge. You're talking of building 20 airports. Who will use them? You see, a government that not only pushes, heads its citizens to die, en masse, but celebrates. See the most ridiculous thing the minister, instead of resigning, the Minister of Transport was actually mocking the dead and the bereaved, that Iran should raise money to...
If I had gotten my 6 billion, this wouldn't have happened. Quote unquote.
No, yeah, of course. And then at the end of the day, Amici is going to smile home with 6 billion, because you see, there was a time I tweeted, if you recall, when the train started running, petroleum was very low. People were not using the trains, and it became a subject of mockery. People were saying that, why would we put so much billions, borrow money from China and not using the trains? Then suddenly our roads became unsafe, daily attacks on Kaduna roads. Then people were forced to start using the trains. And at the time I tweeted, I said, wait a minute. Is someone not behind these sudden attacks on our roads? And then people are now forced to use the trains, if you understand. So, because...
That's a conspiratorial theory.
No, it is. But but it is. But now, okay, people don't use this train, and you claim that you got intelligence reports, or you know that the trains will be attacked. What do? Nothing. And then you get there, you say, hey, I told them. You're a member of, you manage this ministry. Basically, Ministry of Transport, the only fat cow there is the only meat there is railways, the Ministry of Transport. Okay, and then the minister gets there. Amechi is not an engineer, he's not a civil engineer, he's not a mechanical engineer, he doesn't know about locomotives. And just gazing at, on the spot assessment, he puts a price tag that this thing will take not less than 3 billion to do. How did they arrive that figure?
So he may have consulted.
Consulted where?
Were you with him?
No, you got there. You know, see, we have to be very, very careful. You see, symbols, objects are not as important as the meanings we give to them. Symbols are not as important. A flag is a piece of cloth. You understand? You say, okay, this is a piece of cloth. But set fire to it, then you know that you are attacked another country. You see, people have died. As we speak, there's a family. The man, his wife, and his 4 children. Nobody's talking about them. Then the minister comes, and what he says is, I told them, they wouldn't listen. But see here we are. And then the Nigerians should raise money for these people. A man who ought to have resigned.
Hospital bills.
Yes, a man who ought to have resigned, who ought to go home who ought to eternally live with the guilt of allowing this happen, because the minister actually allowed this happen. He allowed this happen.
Pseudo declaration posters everywhere.
Exactly.
Talking about Amechi's comment.
He's talking
about Amechi's comment. I agree that Nigerian rail industry should be protected, secured. But there is a way you will see something and people will use their tongue to count their teeth. Telling Nigerians to raise money for hospital bills. You will see what happened at the National Assembly yesterday. Look at what happened at this Dogowa we are talking about, that is talking about Nigerians, allowing Nigerians to bear arms. Almost majority of the APC House of Rep members says they were almost in tears when they came out and said, yes, we know we have failed. We admit we have failed this country. No, looking at what has happened since they came on board, they admitted it, that yes, we are failures. I know it's a House of Reps member from Imo State, Okigwe, Chiko Kafo, opened up and said it openly, criticizing his party and his government, that Nigeria has not fared well all this while. Doguwa said same, Suleiman said same. All these are APC legislator parliamentarians, so to say. So this is where Amechi got it wrong. Your party members are crying, and you are telling Nigerians to come and pay for the mistake of the government.
His mistake, not mistake of government.
No, he is in government. It's the government's mistake. He is in government.
Now, as of yesterday, the NRC boss was saying that about 17 families said they have not heard anything from their family members who supposedly boarded that train, and then that the terrorists had contacted about 5 families demanding for ransom.
In these insane claims, people's heads should be rolling by now. By now, people should be resigning, accepting, yes, we have failed. Should be resigning shamefully. Shamefully. But Nigeria is a country where commit one crime today, you'll be moved up.
So you see New Telegraph saying, bottom page, Insecurity, direct IGP calls to deploy special forces to troubled local governments in Kaduna. Reps urging federal government, say begin probe of Nigerian refineries. But there, what they say, El Rufai, Amechi's outburst expose APC's complicity in terrorist attacks.
Exactly.
Say no government watches a citizen die like chicken. CUC tells Buhari, declare total on terrorists. But somebody also would argue that rather than say direct IGP calls to deploy special forces, somebody would rather say could he change the service chiefs already?
Not that. You see, you ask yourself, what is the role of the legislature? You see, Nigerians can't go and use arms to chase boy out of the villa. The powers, you see, you elect lawmakers because there's what we call principle of separation of powers. It took several hundreds of years for people, because see, we have this we have the monarchical system, we have might makes right, and stuff. Several theories, doctrines. And then Baron Montesquieu came and said, okay, let us see where we don't make somebody an absolute sovereign. But what we have also been doing in Nigeria is that we have made Buhari a sovereign. Buhari is now a monarch. Because you have the lawmakers. So you see, when you see lawmakers crying like babies, you start laughing, because what is the role? You see,
it's a sign of helplessness.
No. You see, the president.
Empathy.
You see, the president appoints the Chief Justice of Nigeria, right? But he can't appoint his brother, so he has to go through the National Assembly for confirmation. That's the third arm of government. Then the president swears in. Inaugurates the assembly. That's the way it's done. You understand? Then the Chief Justice swears in the president. So you see how it's interwoven. Then if the president does not do well, the only way the citizens can tell him to go is through the National Assembly. So why is the National Assembly crying? The power they have is power of impeachment. So what has the National Assembly done to Buhari? It shows that they are also complicit. So they shouldn't cry. Nobody should cry wolf. Nobody should cry, shed crocodile tears on our behalf. You see, we are tired. Nigerians say that they are tired of what's going on. Go everywhere. Go markets everywhere. People are tired. You see, people don't have. There's no power. There's no good roads. No petrol. You can't buy petrol. Diesel is 800 naira per liter.
Like I keep saying,
our lawmakers are in the National Assembly crying. Why are you crying? The powers you have is to get signatures and begin impeachment proceedings against the president. If you start that, maybe he will sit up, because the president now is a sovereign. I mean, he's a monarch. He's Emperor Buhari.
But Nigerians themselves seem also too relaxed.
You say?
Really, Nigerians are crying, we are tired, you said, but everybody seems to be crying inside and not doing anything.
The Senate is silent.
Does it mean that Nigerians too do not have power beyond going to vote?
No, they have powers. We saw what happened in several countries. We saw what Arab Spring. You see, if people have nothing else to lose, we hear of child soldiers. What makes children child soldiers? During conflicts, a person's father is killed, his mother is killed, his siblings are killed. He has nothing else to lose. He's 10-year-old. We saw it happen in Liberia. We saw it happen in Sierra Leone. We saw it happen during the Biafra war. It's happening now in Ukraine. You see, if you have lost everything, you have nothing else to lose. You see, when people get tired, when people feel like they have nothing else to lose, when people feel like they can't look up to National Assembly for salvation, one day they will march to that villa. They will march to National Assembly and sack everybody. And maybe when that is done, when that is done, it's when we will now open our eyes, because we actually need a political reset. We need to reset ourselves politically, because I've never seen a country where people suffer this much, and as Fela said, they are suffering and smiling.
Yeah,
who does that?
They are suffering and smiling because Nigerians, they are a conquered people. The politicians have conquered Nigeria. Why am I saying that? We talked about Nigerians are suffering, but they cannot do anything. Why do I say they are a conquered people? If Nigerians come out today, the poverty level they have reduced this country has changed the psyche of every Nigerian. That what cares to them now is to eat. Mobilize 1,000 people to do anti-National Assembly protest today. They will use money to mobilize 20,000 to protest against that thing. So it's a conquered state. What people are looking at now is how
don't assume that we're conquered.
We are.
Don't assume that.
Everybody is looking at how to get himself fit.
Because only fuel subsidy regime, Nigerians occupied Nigeria.
In Algeria at the time, in Egypt, they thought that they had conquered Egyptians. The government thought that.
Yeah, it could change. I agree with you. It could change, but see, there are places you will travel. You go to some historical sites. In 2018. I went to Egypt to cover the Nations Cup. My first point, two places I said I must visit is the Pharaoh's throne and the Tahrir Square. Because I know what Tahrir Square
represents
in Egypt. But do we have such people? That's why I said we're a conquered.
Don't write Nigerians off.
People will mobilize 10,000 today to protest against
Nigerians off.
The next day they will mobilize 50,000 and give them 1,000 naira. You will see people carrying placards upside down because they don't know what they are protesting against. What they are protesting, their mind is just to get that 500 naira.
We will leave this discussion here.
Because there is hunger.
You said
that is the thing. They are used to upside down.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. We thank you. It is a worrisome trend, so we understand how everybody feels about this. Chuks Akuna and Nze Ezocha, or Ezocha Nze, whichever way, they both joined us. They are editors. Yes, that's what is important. Yeah. So they both joined us to look at the national dailies for today. Incidentally, we couldn't even touch any other story because of how germane this issue is. Thank you, gentlemen, and we'll leave our newspaper review and begin our first conversation for the day.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.